All right, everybody. Welcome back to What I Wish You Knew About Your Wedding. And I have a very interesting episode for you today. What I'm going to be talking about is about having a bar at your wedding. Do you need one? Do you not need one? What options should you choose? I've been doing this 17 years, done over 1,000 weddings, and I've seen every variation of a bar that you can imagine, from self-serve to full service, from one bartender to four bartenders, from one bar to two bars, no bar. And I'm just here to share with you guys my personal professional opinion on all those options. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to get straight to what probably everybody wants to hear. And then from there, you can keep watching because I'm going to explain it in even further detail. Now, some people may disagree, but it's my very strong professional opinion that everyone should have a bar. Now, what does that actually mean? That means that everyone associates bar with alcohol, okay? But there are people that maybe are non-drinkers, or for religious reasons, they don't drink. So you're not going to serve alcohol, and you think you don't need a bar, but you do. And I'm going to explain why. The first main reason why is, even if you're not going to serve alcohol, you should have a bar and a bartender or drink host. And that's because you need someone to serve the people. It's a lot about guest experience. So imagine you're going to have a wedding and there's an option to not have a bar or bartender. And then that option is, which I've seen before, they're just going to put out sodas, cups, and ice. Okay? That's what they're going to do. It sounds great. And it's going to save you a little bit of money. It's going to save you some money. In the grand scheme of what you're spending on your entire wedding and creating this amazing experience, you're going to save a fraction of money not having a bartender or drink host to just serve soda and juice and whatever else. Now, let me explain. So I want you to picture it. It's your wedding day. You chose not to have a bar, okay? So now what we have is just bowls, usually giant bowls, at a wedding venue. In a backyard wedding, it might be ice chests, okay? But at a wedding venue, it's going to be something that looks nice. And it's going to be bowls full of ice, and then there's going to be sodas. And there's only going to be a few options of sodas. And then there's going to be like a water station, and maybe tea and coffee station. It's going to be all in one place. And then there's going to be cups or glasses at the table, right? And then what's going to happen is everybody now has to serve themselves. It's really not ideal. So now your guests go up and then they got to scoop the ice and they got to make it. And it sounds like, I know it's not a lot, but when you're already spending so much money on a wedding and creating this experience, to me, it doesn't make sense to not finish that experience with at least allowing your guests to be served sodas by somebody. It just makes the experience better overall. And then I want you to also think about this. If you're having a family-friendly wedding and there's going to be kids, I will tell you 100%, those kids are going to open drink sodas. They're going to leave them half drinking, partially drinking, all over the place, and you're just going to have a bunch of cans of sodas on the tables and nobody knows whose they are because, kids are grabbing them left and right. Kids are sticking their hands in the ice. They're not using the scooper. They're playing with the ice. And then maybe they're making a mess. Maybe they're spilling drinks because there's no one there to control that. Like if you have a server, if you have someone to serve those drinks, it's going to be more controlled. They're going to pour a portion of a soda to the kids, and the adults, of course. And it's just nice. It's just nice to be served and not have to serve yourself. Again, even if you're having an extremely low budget wedding, extremely low budget, do it yourself, and you're bringing everything in, you could still hire someone to just serve those drinks, and it's not going to cost that much, especially if they're not serving alcohol. They're just going to have a flat rate, and they're going to charge you that, and and they're going to serve the drinks. And it's going to be nice. It's going to be nice for you and your guests. Who's going to get you the drinks? Are you going to serve yourself those drinks? Or would you rather be able to go up and just ask someone for them, or hire someone and have them checking in on you to bring you your drinks? Again, even if you're just drinking soda or non-alcoholic mixed drinks, I just think mocktails, that's what they call them, mocktails. Even if you're having mocktails, like, you need someone to make that for you and to bring it to you and to serve you even as the couple. So I just think that everybody should have a bar service of some kind, even if there's no alcohol. Now that we've gotten past that, and my opinion is everybody should have a bar. Now we get into another big question. And that is for the people that don't want to serve alcohol, right? I just talked about that, like how it's still nice to have a bar even if you're not serving alcohol. Now here's something I want to share with all of you if you're not going to serve alcohol. And this is even if you decide to not have a bar or bartender or a drink host and you're not serving alcohol. I want you to remember this. This is really, really important. What I've seen in all my experience of 17 years of doing these weddings, there is something that continually will happen all the time at weddings that aren't serving alcohol. And that is that I am not sure, and I don't know how many couples let their guests know in their invitations or on their Zola website or wherever they're distributing information through email. I don't know that they always let their guests know it's a dry wedding. And it's a bigger deal than you think. Now, some people say, maybe you might be saying to yourself, well, that's my family and my friends, and we don't really drink. So it's not going to be a problem. But I promise you, every time someone has said that, it's 90% of the time it is a problem. And the reason why is, what I've noticed is, once your guests, if they weren't warned about it, once they find out there's no alcohol, for those that maybe even just drink on occasion for celebration or, drink socially, what I've found is those people will often leave at some point during the wedding, and what they're doing. They're going to the nearest liquor store, the nearest whatever, because they're going to go get some drinks because they were not warned or told it was a dry wedding. So they're going to leave the wedding for a period of time, and they can be gone 20, 30 minutes that they're going to miss. And that's just because they thought there was going to be alcohol, and so they're going to go get some drinks somewhere. Typically, they're going to drink those in the parking lot, which then they could get caught and get in trouble for, and possibly be removed from the property or told to leave, or the alcohol will get taken away by security, etc. That's one possible issue. The other potential problem is of not telling your guests in advance that you're going to have a dry wedding is that they're going to leave early. So if you have an open dance part of your reception, I've noticed that at dry weddings, guests are more likely to leave early than at any other type of wedding that has some kind of option to drink. And I want to share that with you guys because I think it's really important. In my experience, I just feel like people are not warning their guests that it's a dry wedding. It seems like everybody, for the most part, the people again who drink socially or maybe when they're celebrating, they are expecting something. And so when they come and find out it's just soda, it's just water, it's just tea, it's just coffee, they immediately are just looking for how they can maybe get a drink or two. So, just please consider that if you're having a dry wedding, let your guests know in advance. Now let's assume you are having a bar and a bartender, and you're wondering what option you should choose for your wedding. So, before you decide whether you're going to do a cash bar or open bar, you really want to think about what kind of bar you want. Again, there's levels to that. One of the most simplest, easiest, and I would say very common options is beer and wine, beer, wine, soda, juice, and often called California bar, a nickname that I've heard before for it. So what you're going to offer is very simple. No heavy liquor or anything like that. No specialty drinks. It's just literally going to be like beer, wine, and soda. A very simple option. And again, this is something that for the guests who maybe just want a little bit of something, at least there's beer and wine if they want something. And now we're not offering a full bar with all these different alcohols and all of that, because maybe you're worried about that, or you don't want that. You don't want people over drinking, all of that. Then we at least have a couple options. Very simple, very common. Then you can have like a house or like standard bar. That's going to be like, or mid tier. And so you're going to have beer, wine, and then you're going to have some levels of mid shelf liquors available. Vodkas, tequilas, things like this. And then you can opt for a like full bar or premium bar where you're going to have everything. So you're going to have signature drinks, uh, higher end liquor and alcohol. You're going to have beer and wine. You're going to have all of it. So everybody's different. Some people can do without all the top shelf, but then some people have weddings where guests are going to expect that. Your higher end weddings, where people are expecting that, you want to have that. And then even for weddings that are lower budget, you still may want top shelf. You could have a lower budget wedding but spend more money on the bar and have a premium bar. There's nothing wrong with that, and also it does happen. So that's all based on how you feel and what you think and what you want. Also consider just yourselves and what you may want. If you're going to want a higher end, old fashioned or something like that, or like a vodka martini, if you want those types of things, definitely mid to top shelf is going to be a great option. And again, if you're the type of couple who's going to have those signature drinks, I would say you're definitely probably going to want a more of a premium bar than just a basic bar, because with just a beer and wine, that's not going to be available. Now, another thing I've seen that is sometimes an option. Some venues, DIY venues, where they're not catering it and they're not providing the bartender and all that, or it's more customizable. And even some bigger venues, they will allow you to bring in certain types of your own alcohol. So I've been to a lot of weddings where they bring in specialty alcohol that is either traditional to their culture or where they're from, and it's specialty and it's higher end, and it's not something that any venue is going to carry in their standard order service. So that's something you can ask the venue about. People always wonder about their specialty drinks and can we bring this? That's going to be venue to venue. If it's important for you that to have wine on the table for the guests, or to have a bottle of something, for every guest. I've I've done weddings where there was like, a full bottle of Hennessy and then mixers at the table, literally at the table. Very rare, but I've seen it. And I've seen weddings where there's wine at the table during dinner service. They'll put out bottles of wine. They'll have them open, and people can pour themselves wine throughout the dinner service and the rest of the evening up until about last call or just before last call. They'll start pulling the bottles. So you want to explore and think about all these options before you even think about whether you're going to do a cash bar or open bar. And again, it's always nice, I think, always nice to let your guests know in advance if it's going to be a cash bar or open bar, or maybe just maybe open bar for cocktail hour only type of thing, which is going to take me right into talking about the difference between those two options as far as I see it as experience for the guests. Let's talk about that. Open bar versus cash bar. Now I'm going to be really honest about this part too as well. I will say for weddings with cash bars where you're offering alcohol, whatever level of bar it is, if it's cash bar only, people also, again, they tend to leave earlier, especially if they are social or celebratory drinkers. I've noticed that, they just it's just how it is. They just tend to leave earlier. I think because it's costing them money to consume the drinks, obviously. I think they get to a point where, they're done spending money on the drinks. And then I feel like they start sobering up. And then they're like, maybe it's just a good time to go instead of having more drinks. And so they'll tend to leave maybe 20 to 30 minutes earlier than other guests. It's you'll lose a larger percentage of guests if it's cash bar only. And that's why, if you're going to do an open bar, but you have a lower budget, doing a beer and wine and soda bar, and then having the option to buy other drinks, mid-shelf, premium, having that option is also good. So that way, if people want to drink for free and that's what's going to keep them there, then it's nice to have something that they can get and not have to keep spending money. And again, this is all dependent upon the crowd, and how aware they are of what the situation is going to be before they get there. Because sometimes some venues only take card. Like they've gone completely digital. I work at venues that are completely digital now. Like you can't pay with cash. So if they didn't bring cash, then they're also out of luck. They can't even buy a drink if it's cash bar only. But I think that with a cash bar, that's the only pitfall to having just cash bar, is that if people can't buy the drinks, if the venue is digital only, or they don't have cash, or they just don't want to spend the money on the drinks, but they were hoping to have some drinks and drink for free. I don't know, people love drinking for free. Then they do tend to leave a little bit earlier. The crowd will thin out sooner than a wedding that has an open bar like the entire time. So let's talk about another option, just above cash bar only. And besides, offering just beer and wine for free. Another option is, I've seen a lot of weddings where they will cover the cocktail hour. So whatever people consume during cocktail hour, it's free. It's open bar. And then after cocktail hour is over, or sometimes up until the end of meal service, so we're talking 2 hours and 15 minutes maybe, is covered. Whatever that is, the couple's going to cover the bill, and people are going to be able to drink for free and enjoy themselves. But then after that, We'll do formalities after meal service for about 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe max. And then the open dancing starts. And so during that time, you will have to pay for your drinks. And or if you've opted for beer and wine, to still continue to be free, then they can buy other drinks. That is a very fair, nice option. You're not offering free drinks all night, but there is a period of time where people can go ahead and just enjoy themselves and not have to worry about paying for it. It's really nice for your guests, and I think it's a good medium place. And then again, it would be your option whether or not any beer and wine or anything would still be covered after that. But you could just cut off the open bar at that time, either after cocktail hour or at the end of dinner, and then have people pay for their drinks after that. And that's a really good medium option. I really think that. Okay, now let's talk about having a full open bar. So you have an open bar. We're not talking just about beer and wine. We're talking about mid-shelf or premium, whatever level you choose. And this is what I want to say about open bar. In general, those weddings just seem to have a better energy, be a little more fun. People are a little more loose, and they typically will stay longer till the end of the night. Because here's the thing. People are going to be able to drink for free, and they're going to want to stay because they're going to be having a good time, and they're going to be in a celebratory mood, and the drinks will enhance the experience and this event that you've created, not only for yourselves but for your guests. And they will typically stay. Most guests, a higher percentage of guests will stay until we get to about 30 minutes before the end of the event, which would be last call. And then the people that want one more drink will go get it. And then we party for the last 30 minutes, and then people leave. I know maybe people out there might disagree with me, but there is something to be said about having an open bar for the entire time, from after ceremony when cocktail hour starts all the way till last call. It is absolutely a better experience for your guests. It just seems like people have a better time, and it's obvious. Yes, it's obvious they're drinking. So, it's just their moods change. Again, more open, less inhibition, and it's really nice for the guests to not have to pay for drinks at all. Of course, that comes at a larger expense to you, but again, you're creating this event. You want to have fun. You want your guests to have fun. So for me, I think open bar is the best option unless you have some religious or other reason why you're not offering alcohol. I think an open bar with beer, wine, and at least mid-shelf is a great option for you and your guests. And then you can also have your signature drinks, which people then can choose signature drinks that you choose. So, a his and hers is usually what we'll see. You'll be able to have that. And that's also good because what I've noticed about signature drinks is that people that don't drink a lot, if there's fixed options, people love that. They don't have to think about it. So when they come to the bar and the bartender asks, like, what would you like? Would you like to try one of our signature drinks, or would you like something else? If it's not a person who really goes out a lot or doesn't drink a lot, then it's nice. They just say, yeah, let me try the his, or let me try the hers. And it'll usually have a fun name that's associated with, I've seen people name those drinks after pets or their favorite places that they've been to or where they met. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you can do in playing with that idea, or maybe where they're going for their honeymoon. So if they're going to Hawaii, they'll have like Hawaiian inspired drinks. If they're going to Jamaica, Jamaica Me Happy, like they'll do these signature drinks that I think are fun. And then guests can try something new, and they don't have to think about it or feel pressured when they go up to the bar, or sometimes people just seem shy, when the bartender asks them like, "Hey, what do you want?" So it's nice to be able to do all of that. Let's go a little bit deeper into bar service. So let's pretend for a moment that you're watching this and you're DIYing your wedding, and so you're going to have it at a venue and you're allowed to bring in a bartender, okay? Some people wonder, how many bartenders should we have? Now, a good number or fair number is one bartender to every 50 to 75, 80 guests or so. I would say, definitely one at 50. But if you're getting up higher than that, you may want a second bartender. And the reason why is, I can tell you 100%, right after ceremony, if you have a bunch of guests that are drinkers and looking forward to having a drink, right after ceremony, that line is insane. That line will be backed up. If you have 120 people coming, 75, 70 people will be in that line right away. So, if you have that number, if you're getting above 100 people, above 80, above 100, 120, 125, you may want to consider having two bartenders. Now, are they going to be super slammed and busy like the entire time? No. But in the rushes, in the periods of time where there is a lot of people getting in line, and there are specific times that happens, right after ceremony, right before grand entrance, at the end of meal service, last call, the last thing you want is just, why would you want all your guests in line for 20 minutes to get a beer? It doesn't make sense. I've seen it. I've seen people stand in line like, there's 20 people in line, 15, 20 people in line. The guy in the back just wants a beer. And then everybody else is like hemming and hawing and thinking about what they want, or ordering a drink that the bartender's never made. And it takes time. So I just think that when you're getting above 50, when you're getting to like 70, 75, 80 guests, it would be nice if it's in your budget to have more than one bartender. They're not always going to be busy the entire time. They're not going to be slammed the whole time. But trust me, in the moments where that bar is extremely busy, you're going to be glad that your guests didn't have to wait 15, 20 minutes to get a drink, that the line goes a little bit quicker, because we can split that line of 20 into two lines of 10, and they can just burn through those people when you have two bartenders, especially when they're helping each other out. It's really good thing. Another great thing about actually having a bartender, especially if you're doing a DIY wedding or you're doing it at a private residence, is that instead of just, if you are going to have like, if you were going to thinking about having people self-serve, okay? If you're thinking about having people self-serve, there are also concerns about that. And I've seen it. I've done, backyard weddings, private venue weddings. And if people are allowed to just mix their own drinks, and there's no one to supervise, there's no bartender, there's no drink host, there's no one, people will then overserve themselves. Also, if there's underage people and you don't want them drinking and you're worried about that, then they also can be denied access by the bartender. So, these are also things to consider that I don't know that people think about. I've been to weddings where the all of the liquor and all the drinks were just fully accessible, and generally one person may usually will overserve themselves, and then nobody knows how much they've had to drink, and so they're all sick in the corner, and people are trying to help them out and give them water and bread and whatever they could find to help sober them up. And that's because they overserved themselves. So, in reality, no matter what you choose and no matter what kind of wedding you're having, whether it's a venue, that provides all that, or gives you an option to not have that, or you're doing a DIY venue where you can bring in a bartender, or you can bring in liquor and drinks, or you're doing it at your house and you can just have it all accessible. Again, just having someone there to help out, to serve, put ice in the cup instead of everybody reaching their hands in and all that. It's just a good idea. I just want to briefly touch on some other options that are sort of drink bar related, but kind of not. One of the things that I've seen that always goes over extremely well is what they call like a champagne welcome. This is where, at your venue, whatever it is, as guests arrive, there's a glass of champagne. There's usually like a shelf, and there will be glasses of champagne pre-poured that guests can grab and have. And that's nice. It's nice to set the mood for the wedding. They get one drink, they get one little champagne drink before the ceremony. And again, it just kind of loosens people up, puts them in the mood, in a celebratory mood. It is a nice touch. Also, during the wedding, you can opt for a champagne pour for the toasts. Just think about that. If you're DIYing your wedding and you don't have a planner and you don't have a coordinator, this is something that you're probably not going to think about or anyone's going to tell you to do. But again, if you had a bartender, they could help pour all of that for your guests when it's time for the toast. So having someone to pour 100 champagne flutes, it'd be nice. It'd be nice to have somebody opening those bottles and prepping that before you even get to that moment. So if you're going to have a champagne pour for toasts and speeches, which is almost like happens 99% of the time, it's rare that there's not. And even when there's not, it's because there's wine at the table or there's a bar where people can get drinks. So, again, that's something a bartender can help with. They could help with a champagne welcome. They could help with a champagne toast. But also, even if you're not hiring a bartender, that's something you may want to do. And so you may just want to have a drink host or somebody at least helping with that part as well. And then, there are various other things people do at weddings regarding the bar. And so there is a lot of different things you can do and different options. This is mostly just to cover what my professional opinion is and experience in having the POV of executing these weddings as a DJ and just seeing how the bar functions in the totality of the event and how it affects it directly and the different experiences people have. So I definitely hope this helped you guys out. I hope this helps someone out there really understand the difference between, the different types of bars you can have, the different types of options, how to make it convenient for your guests, and then also how to prepare your guests for whatever it is you are going to offer. Again, I think it's extremely important that if you're having an event, if it's not clear, if you're not going to serve any alcohol or it's not going to be available, please let your guests know. Because again, the last thing I would want at my event is for guests to arrive not knowing that that's the situation, expecting something else, and then they leave my event and possibly during important parts, like maybe they're gone for the first dance or, maybe they're gone for the grand entrance. Maybe they're gone for the speeches. I just wouldn't want people leaving and or like stumbling through the doors and making noise, because they left to go get a drink somewhere in the middle of my wedding, or I just don't think that's a very good experience for anyone, for the couple or for the guests. So again, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. This content, again, we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts. Please find us wherever you like to listen. Please subscribe. If you have questions, leave them in the comments. If there's a place to do that, wherever you're listening to or watching this podcast, we'll be back with more episodes again every 2 weeks. And I want to thank everybody. We just surpassed 200 subscribers. and that's great. We have more guests coming very soon. Next episode, we'll have a very special guest. So please, again, subscribe. Keep coming back. Check out the other content. And I want to thank you guys for watching. And I hope this was helpful. Thank you, guys.